Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are taking a deep dive into spiritual disciplines today. And when
Yes.
you hear that, you might think, oh man, this could be a dry one. But I promise, it's actually anything but.
Right.
We are talking about practical steps that anyone can take to deepen their faith. It's about connecting with something bigger than ourselves. It's
Uh,
like, have you ever heard that story of Daniel in the lion's den?
oh, absolutely.
This is kind of like that. It's about facing your fears with unwavering faith.
Exactly. You see, spiritual disciplines are really about those practices that we weave into our lives that lead us to grow spiritually and help us to connect with God.
Okay, so how would you define spiritual disciplines? I mean, when we say that, what does it actually mean?
Well, the material we've been looking at defines it as exercises that we do regularly to make certain actions and attitudes habitual that open us up to God.
Exercises almost makes it sound like we're at the gym, working out our spiritual muscles.
Mm.
So it's not just about like randomly doing religious stuff, right? It's about being intentional.
Exactly. It's not just, oh, I should probably pray sometime today. It's about setting aside time, being deliberate.
It's like that difference between going for a jog every now and actually training for a marathon. It's a whole different level of commitment.
Exactly. Exactly. It's that consistency that brings about change. And you know what's interesting is that even in the Bible, we see this in action. Think about Daniel.
His story blows me away every time. It's a powerful reminder to stand by your beliefs no matter what.
It is. And to think that his commitment to prayer, even when facing that lion's den, that's remarkable.
It really is. So
Yes.
for anyone who needs a little refresher, Daniel was super devout, prayed 3 times a day, facing Jerusalem. But then a new law came out saying you could only pray to the king. And obviously this went against everything Daniel believed in.
Right. And instead of backing down, even knowing how dangerous it was, Daniel, he keeps praying right out in the open for everyone to see. Talk about commitment.
I know. And because of that, boom, thrown into a den of lions. But here's the thing. Because of his incredible faith and his dedication to prayer, something amazing happened.
Yeah, he survives.
Right. I mean, how incredible is that?
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting is that even though it's an ancient story, we all face our own versions of lion's dens today. Those moments where our faith, our values are tested and we have a choice to make.
Yeah, that is such a good point. It makes you really think about what you're willing to stand up for, right? Where do we need that kind of unwavering faith in our own lives? I mean, seriously.
It's like those disciplines, they're our training ground, you know? They
Yeah.
help us to face those tough moments head on. And it's not just about us either, right? It affects how we treat others, how we live our lives in service to them.
That's a great point because I was thinking about how this all connects to ministry, serving others and what that looks like.
It's key. It's like, think about it, Wood. You can't exactly give what you don't have right. Gotta have that strong spiritual foundation ourselves before we can support others in their journey.
Right, yeah. It's like trying to fill someone's cup with an empty pitcher. Doesn't work.
Exactly.
It reminds me of this quote from
Yeah.
Volz. He said, to be effective at making disciples, we need to become disciples ourselves.
Powerful stuff. Really gets to the heart of it all. Basically, making disciples means we help others grow in their faith, to actually live it out, make it real in their lives and the world around them.
Okay, so let's break it down. For someone who's like making disciples, what does that even mean in real life? What would you tell them?
Think of it like walking alongside someone on their journey, offering guidance and support as they face their own questions.
Okay.
Could be mentoring someone, leading a group, or even just being there for your friends and family.
Being that example.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's living your faith authentically, and that has this ripple effect on others. But to do that well, we got to keep investing in our own spiritual growth.
you got it. Leading by example. And that's where spiritual formation comes in. Have you heard of that?
Yeah. But to be honest, I'm a little fuzzy on what that really means. What is spiritual formation?
Basically, it's about becoming more like Christ, aligning our hearts and actions with his teachings through these practices. It's about that inner transformation.
So not just going through the motions, it's letting those practices actually change us
Yeah,
from the inside out.
exactly. It impacts everything, how we treat others, how we handle challenges, how we approach our work and relationships, everything.
It's just like this incredible ripple effect. If we're all trying to grow and change, imagine the impact we could have on our communities and even the world. It's amazing to think about the impact we can have, and it all comes back to those spiritual disciplines, those little things we do consistently. So as we wrap up, what's the one thing you hope listeners really take away from this deep dive?
It's not about checking things off a list. It's not about trying to earn points with God. It's about transformation, about creating space in our lives to encounter something bigger than ourselves, and letting that change us from the inside out.
Being intentional, creating that space, and being open to that change, it's incredible.
It is. And, there's no one right way to do it. It's like with exercise, there are so many different ways to move your body, and each one has its own benefits. The key is to find what works for you, what helps you connect with your faith in a meaningful way.
It's about being curious, trying things out, discovering what helps you grow.
Yes. And that brings to mind a question for everyone listening. As you reflect on what we've talked about, prayer, solitude, fasting, study, all of it, what resonates with you the most? How could incorporating that into your life, even in a small way, deepen your connection with your faith and give you a greater sense of purpose?
That's a great question for us all to consider. And as we wrap up, I keep thinking about Daniel in the lion's den. Talk about incredible faith in the face of fear. It's inspiring.
Absolutely. And, we may not face literal lions, but we all have our own metaphorical lions, right? Challenges, doubts, distractions, things that can pull us away from what matters most.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But like Daniel, we can find that strength, that guidance. We can see those miraculous outcomes when we commit to that consistent spiritual practice. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into spiritual disciplines. Remember, it's a journey. Be kind to yourself, stay curious, and be open to how incredible your faith journey can be. Until next time.